Now at 10, breaking news at the port of Los Angeles, where an explosion and fire aboard a cargo ship has led to an emergency. We are live in the air and on the ground.
Plus, our record-setting storm turns deadly in the San Fernando Valley when a tree falls onto two vehicles, crushing a driver. A look at the storm's widespread damage and the cleanup.
Bad streets are flooded after the storm sends water rushing into a Huntington Beach neighborhood, stranding drivers and trapping residents in their homes. Complete storm coverage now on the news. Good evening, I'm Micah Ullman.
And I'm Cher Calvin. We begin with breaking news in San Pedro, where firefighters are about a major emergency aboard a cargo ship.
It began with an explosion and electrical fire around 6:30 this evening. That fire now burning on a number of levels of the vessel. Live in San Pedro at the command post with the latest on the Sandra.
Micah and Cher, the early reports on this were very concerning. We are talking about major emergency. 100 firefighters were seen here. Explosion on a cargo ship and then massive fire. Let's go ahead and show you some video from Sky 5 and from the ground earlier tonight. Now, this is a fire that did apparently start with an explosion somewhere on that ship. The early reports accounted for. We can now tell you that everyone has been accounted for and there are no injuries reported. But more than 100 fire crews are here and they are still battling this fire. I can also tell you that we have enough ambulances go by. This is a fire on the 1 Henry Hudson. There are hazardous materials on board several areas of this massive ship, and because of that, we know that the LA Fire Department crews that responded here are wearing protective gear and breathing apparatus, and they are being ordered right now not to go below deck on the ship. We also are being kept at a safe distance from the fire. We were that 2 crew members possibly still on board. This cruise ship we know registered in Panama. It arrived here in Los Angeles just 2 days ago, and then tonight this massive explosion. But right now, again, we are being told that there are injuries reported just behind the PMS news conference. LA Department PIO at any moment, and as soon as that happens, we will bring it to you live. For now, live in San Pedro, I'm Sandra. KTLA 5 News, Cher and Micah will send it back.
Sandra, thank you. From the ground to the air. The air continues with labor headed 5. Gil.
Mike, sharing at that boat here from a distance. They just put a over the boat right now. We're shooting from about a mile. As I in here, you see the ship. Let me explain exactly where this fire is happening. You're going to see 2 stacks right here in the center of your screen. Those are not the ones that are on fire. You're going to see us right behind them there in the middle where that flashlight is. And the next of that's what contains below deck. It's about 3 or 4 stacks down that initially was the source of the fire. We understand now, we're hearing that the fire has spread from the port side, the dock side of the ship right now. You can see fireboats in the water. There's 2 fireboats water on the flames here. Very difficult for firefighters. They're not able to get down below the deck to fight this fire. Also, there are hazardous materials that are right now. They are asked to fight the fire, but firefighters there on the boat trying to put water on the fire. But it's now the boat in the water here. They're the heavy work, those heavy streams of water going onto the boat. Now they're concerned about the boat listing. Now firefighters are at the rear of the boat looking to make sure the boat is not listing to one or the other. As far so good, they want to make sure that that water is offloaded from. But let me take you on to the stuff. You can see there with their apparatus. One concern now is that they're worried the stack they're tipping over, toppling over those containers at the top. They're concerned that the fire has spread from one side of the ship to the other, and they're concerned that those stacks on top above the deck may at some point collapse down and fall onto the water or onto the dock. So there are many concerns for firefighters right now. It looks like the fire department's doing a great job of trying to manage and control the fire. They are concerned about the fire spreading to that next stack of containers. So far, they've done a great job of keeping that fire suppressed and out of those containers itself right now, but a lot of smoke billowing up from this fire right now. Fire is handful as they try to fight this difficult fire on board this ship. That's the latest overhead up in Sky 5. I'll send it back to you in the studio.
Gil, you know, you're talking about the stacks of containers there. Obviously, they look so much smaller from on the television than they actually are in real life. I mean, at one point or another, you wonder, are they going to move either stack on either side of this fire to avoid, you know, those stacks igniting as well?
Yeah, they've been talking about this since the fire started. They were asking if it's possible to get those containers off of that particular stack that's on fire. Unfortunately, they're not able to do it. It would take a crane operator, and you see the cranes there above the ship right now. It would have to have an operator above the fire to do that, and on one container at a time. So at this point, it's not really feasible for the fire department to try to get that to happen. They're trying to suppress the fire enough to knock it down and keep stacks of from collapsing in. That's the big, they don't want to put any firefighters down below the deck. It's a big risk for firefighters to be down there, plus all the toxic smoke that's coming up. So it's safer for the firefighters to stay above deck. And they've been fighting this fire from this stack, which is not on fire. They've been on the right side of that and putting water on there, but they brought the fireboats in with heavy streams to try to put the fire out. That is at least on the port side of the ship here, but you see those two fireboats working really hard to make that happen, and it is putting up a lot more smoke, which means the water's hitting the fire and trying to knock it down at this point, where you are seeing smoke, but it looks like at this point right now we're seeing a little bit less smoke. But again, containers from one side of the ship to the other on that stack have burned. That's the latest overhead up in Sky 5. I'll send it back to you in the studio.
All right, Gil, thank you. We'll continue to monitor the situation and bring you updates throughout the broadcast. Now to breaking news in Rialto, where a raging fire tore through an apartment complex. That fire erupted shortly after 5 o'clock this evening at the building on South Cactus Avenue off Bloomington. Fire officials say the flames spread to at least 16 units through a common attic space. No word on what caused the fire. No injuries have been reported.
Now to the powerful storm that soaked Southern California. You know, it turned deadly this afternoon when a tree came crashing down on cars in Winnetka, killing a man who was just driving down the street. The
storm also created widespread flooding, turning roads into rivers, swamping vehicles and trapping drivers. The unusual series of storms that drenched our area has made this November the wettest on record for large parts of Southern California, and one of the wettest starts to the season in decades.
We have live team coverage of the storm. Meteorologist Vera Jimenez is here with a look at when we could get more rain.
Rick Chambers is in Orange County, but we begin with Rachel Menitoff in Winnetka with more on the storm's deadly aftermath. Rachel.
Micah Share, police say this was likely a devastating consequence of the heavy winds and the saturated ground. A 200-foot tree, probably several thousand pounds, crushed a man who was driving northbound here. You can see the remnants of it here behind us. The man's truck has since been towed. His body was taken by the medical examiner's office, and this neighborhood is definitely shaken up tonight. In a completely unexpected freak accident, some of our worst fears about this storm came true. A massive tree collapsed onto two cars driving on Mason Avenue and Valerio Street in Winnetka Friday afternoon. One person emerged with minor injuries. The driver of the truck, though, was crushed to death.
As soon as I arrived, I was able to try the tree a little bit, but there's no way. I mean, 8+ firemen, jaws of life, equipment. I took all that just to get the tree off the vehicle and then get the doors off the vehicle.
Police say the victim is a Winnetka native who lives close by. The force of the impact either pushed the car onto the opposite side of the road, or in an effort to dodge the falling tree, the driver swerved unsuccessfully.
At this time, I can even hear it. It was different.
Stan Holloway lives mere feet away.
This one was just instantaneous. It hit, and it was like, okay, something devastating happened.
SoCal got pummeled with 3 significant storms all within a week. The torrential downpour led to a lot of street flooding in Tarzana, Sun Valley, Woodland Hills, and completely submerged half a dozen cars parked in this Palms underground lot. As winds pick up and the ground remains very wet, meteorologists continue to warn about widespread falling trees. Like this one, a 60-foot pine tree uprooted and fell onto a home in La Habra Heights. Its branches spread out along the homeowner's roof. Plus, these cars in Hollywood are the latest casualties of the unprecedented November storm. Most importantly, no one was inside, but it certainly proves to be a financial burden.
Came out around 12 o'clock to head to work and noticed that my car was completely crushed. Hurt. Because I can't afford a new one.
Back in the San Fernando Valley, Francisco Gonzalez says these trees are noticeably old and unstable. You're saying it's only a matter of time before it comes down?
Yes, a matter of time will be coming down. And we have a very strong winds around here.
And people in this neighborhood are hoping the city takes notice of tonight's tragedy and sends crews out to inspect the other aging trees that might need repair or removal. We're live in Winnetka tonight. I'm Rachel Menitoff. Sharmika, back to you.
Thank you, Rachel. And in Orange County, the torrential rain flooded an entire neighborhood, stranding drivers and trapping people in their homes, leading to a number of rescues by the Huntington Beach Fire Department.
And many residents say they were awakened by the torrential downpour that sounded like a freight train. Rick Chambers is live in Huntington Beach with the latest on the cleanup. Rick?
Hey, Cher, this whole area was submerged just earlier this evening. Now, as the water's gone down, you can see the lawn across the street there. The pavement here is visible. And by late tonight, the entire neighborhood will likely be void of any standing water. But during the sound frightening for many.
A challenge tonight just to